Hey, family. This is Pastor Heber Brown III of the Pleasant Hope Baptist Church, and I'm checking in with you briefly today to um, to really speak very quickly about um, the thrust, direction, and mission of what's happening at Pleasant Hope Baptist Church right now. I am committed to helping to uh, transform every ministry of Pleasant Hope Baptist Church so that it actively works in service to the holistic salvation and liberation of Black people. This is not just a passing program for Black History Month, but rather it is an instigation toward transformation because of a deep recognition of the depth of our brokenness as a community. And when you recognize how deeply broken and fragmented we are, or as I recognize that rather, I'm encouraged, I'm inspired, and I have become relentless in my desire to see Pleasant Hope to more strategically become an institution working for the holistic salvation and liberation of our community, particularly as Black people are concerned. No ambivalence about it, no equivocation about it, that if we are to be free and completely holistically free, I believe that the Black church holds a special place in that project for Black people. Therefore, every action, every ministry, every initiative of Pleasant Hope must be launched with an intentionality around the transformation of the Black community, the liberation of the Black community, the salvation of the Black community, every single ministry. So as you know, late last year, I invited and I announced 4 leadership conferences, learning opportunities that started on the first Saturday of the year. We started with a leadership conference with Bishop T.D. Jakes. And then second, there was a Christian education leadership session in New York. Third, there was the Proctor Conference in Alabama. And then the fourth thing that I published was the Christian Education and Church Leadership Conference at Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. And those 4 sessions that I publicized starting on December 28th, but had it in the bulletin, have had it in newsletters, have spoken about it from the pulpit, were not just helpful suggestions for ministries and members to participate in. Rather, it was part of the program and a part of the kinds of learning environments that I'm making mandatory, particularly for every leader of Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. Increasingly so, it is going to be that those who will lead ministries at Pleasant Hope in the future are going to be those who have shown and demonstrated a commitment to the renewal of their minds. Why is that important? Well, I remind you of Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, which says, I beseech you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And then it goes on in Romans chapter 12, verse 2 to say, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of what? By the renewing of your mind. And so I am serious about every ministry leader in particular, not just trusting your schooling, not just trusting your professional background and acumen, not just trusting your standing in society. For the truth of the matter is, all of us have been infected and are affected by the poison and the sin of racism, white supremacy, by patriarchy, misogyny, and sexism, by capitalism, and the list goes on and on. You can't just be a good person and be the kind of leader that's going to bring about the transformative and completely revolutionary ideas and programming that's going to help our people to heal. One of the chief books that I have been talking about repeatedly and that I have given video training about. We had a video book club last year about it through our church's Facebook page. It was this book, Black Christian Nationalism, New Directions for the Black Church by Albert Cleage. And with this text, I'm not just lifting it as a just in case you want to read it kind of book. Not for the leadership, I'm not. For every leader of Pleasant Hope, this book is going to be crucial to you understanding how I'm going to be leading Pleasant Hope going forward. It's going to be crucial. In fact, if you don't read it, you're going to be so out of step. You're going to be so against the grain of what I'm doing that it's going to be better that you just step down and step aside until such time that you are able to commit yourself to the renewing of your mind. Yes, I'm raising and intensifying the standard of discipline, and I'm raising and intensifying the accountability that I'm asking for every leader of the church. So rest assured, we're working, and I'm working to identify a kind of regular schedule for all leaders of Pleasant Hope, of every ministry to come, so we can restart our at least monthly gatherings of ministry leaders. But in the meantime, I'm going to be imploring you, strongly urging you to take full advantage of the resources that I'm promoting throughout the church. This book, Black Christian Nationalism, is chief among them. I'm going to read a portion of the book from his chapter, Programming for Liberation, where Reverend Cleage talks about the importance of every ministry being in alignment and working with the one goal of liberation for our people. And this portion of the chapter says this: the methods which the white oppressor uses to miseducate Black people are 90% effective. Our situation is hopeless until we are willing to face the facts. The facts are: 1, we are psychologically sick. 2, we are systematically conditioned to support the mechanics of our own enslavement. And 3, we are being systematically miseducated by the white man's educational system and mass communications media. Black Christian nationalism approaches Black liberation realistically. First, we must restructure the minds of Black people. He goes on, but again, I commend this book to you. And in fact, I'm going to provide a link to the full chapter that I just read an excerpt from, Programming for Liberation, because I will be expecting and making very clear very soon that every ministry of the Pleasant Hope Baptist Church be in lockstep with moving in the direction of the liberation of our people. One of the words that Reverend Cleage said in the excerpt I just read, he said that we are conditioned systematically to participate in the mechanics of our own enslavement. That I don't care how many bumper stickers that you have on your car that says I'm Black and I'm proud. It don't matter how many dashikis you wore in the month of February. It doesn't matter how many times you say Black girl magic or how many posts you put on your social media page about your pride in Black people. We must recognize that every day we are being bathed in anti-Blackness, and we are being forced to participate. We've been conditioned to participate in our own enslavement. And that includes our psychological enslavement, our spiritual enslavement, our political and economic enslavement. We participate in it every single day. I believe, like Reverend Cleage, that if we are to break free from the psychological and spiritual chains of slavery, then the Black church is the bosom from which that freedom activity has to happen. For one, it's the one place that we have a greater degree of autonomy in our community, meaning that we govern our own affairs without the overreach and overwhelming gaze of the racist and white supremacist system right over our shoulder. And so it's the space where we have room to even think about freedom. It's also the place where we have the material and economic assets to fund our freedom and to further our freedom. And so when we have all of that together, inclusive of a multi-generational congregation, we cannot squander the opportunity to align the resources in such a way that it's working perpetually and with clarity for the liberation of our people. So what does that mean? For Children's Church, Josiah's crew, the question will be, what are you doing in every way to teach our children in such a way that they have Black pride, a deep connection to their African heritage, and have an understanding of God that is formed by the lenses of an Afrocentric Christian experience, an Afrocentric Christian worldview. In other words, how are we guarding against furthering a Western and Eurocentric Christian idea in the minds of our children? For the women's ministry and the men's ministry, given the onslaught that our men and women in our community are experiencing every single day, attacks on our personhood, attacks on our body, attacks on our minds. What are you doing in the women's ministry? What are you doing in the men's ministry to be intentional in working for the liberation, the full salvation of Black people in everything that you do? For our deacons and deaconess, for our media ministry, for our preachers, for our choir and music ministry. We don't have the luxury to sit back and wait for somebody else to come free us. What is your ministry doing every time it gathers to help spur and feed the mind of those in your ministry and get it geared toward freedom, geared toward liberation? Again, remember what Romans chapter 12, verse 2 says, that our transformation comes by the renewing of our mind. And sometimes for many of our ministries and our churches, we engage in mindless behavior. We just go with the flow of what we always done because we've always done it. That's not going to cut it when it comes to the liberation of our community. Every ministry leader, I'm going to be holding you to a standard and to the accountable level of working in everything you do with intentionality for the liberation of Black people, for the holistic salvation of Black people. So we're not going to be a church that just says, listen, just live a good life for Jesus, and after you die, you'll get all the good things coming to you. No, no, no. This is not going to be a pie in the sky ministry. I'm not a pie in the sky preacher. Our church is going to be programmed for liberation in everything that we do. Now, somebody's like, oh my goodness, this is too much. Don't worry about it. We're going to take our steps, but you got to do your part. I have published a reading list on the church website, pleasanthope.org. Click on blog. You'll see the reading list. I've published some books to help you in your ministry. Start reading together. Start reading individually. This is a change that's coming. And the coming spring and the summer in particular, we're going to be full force in helping you to grow, instigating your growth. By fall of 2019, our church is going to be transformed in a number of key ways. Get in front of the wave. Here's some things that I put in the reading list that I want to put in front of you again. Start reading books like Let the Circle Be Unbroken, The Implications of African Spirituality in the Diaspora, by Marimba Ani. Thin book. You can get through this book. It's just 60-some pages. And it's going to help lay foundation for us engaging and embracing an Afrocentric Christianity in a worldview. Light from Ancient Africa by Naeem Akbar is another book. Again, another thin book, maybe, again, 60-some pages. I need you to be committed to the renewing of your own mind. I need you to see that there's no such thing as a default or traditional or general Christianity. If you're not actively engaged in unlearning the Eurocentric Western Christianity, then you are furthering that racist Christianity. Lord have mercy. I'm going to say that one again. If you are not consistent and intentional about undoing the version of Christianity that you have been socialized and conditioned to embrace, you know, the one that does not think it a big idea that you have white Jesus on the wall, the one that embraces the doctrine of original sin that is not based in African spirituality, the one that does not read scripture critically, the one does not make connection between what's written on the pages of scripture about Jesus and what we're going through in the real world about Jesus. If you're just going to go with the flow of churchianity, then you are furthering the racist project of this pseudo Christianity that has worked to enslave our people. And so these are the kinds of books that can help unloose some chains in your brain, or loosen some chains in your brain and get some new, full, healthier thinking in your mind. But it begins in so many ways with this text. Black Christian nationalism, new directions for the Black church. We are going in a new direction. Every ministry will be impacted so that our whole church can be systematically working for holistic salvation and liberation of our community. And I want to invite every person in the church, especially every leader, deacons, deaconess, trustees, preachers, musicians, choir members, Josiah's crew, dance ministry, multimedia ministry, new prime timers. Every ministry of the church is going to be affected by this. And so I'm trying to give you a head start. Check out the reading list at pleasanthope.org. Start reading a text now. Pay attention to the articles I'm writing in the newsletter. Pay attention to the posts I'm making on pleasanthope.org's blog. I'm giving you every source and resource that I can to help you begin the journey personally and get ready for us to be taking that journey more collectively as a unit. Final thing I'll say, those who attend my Sunday morning class, 8:30 to 9:45, my Wednesday morning class, 11 a.m., and my Wednesday night class, 7 to 8 p.m., already are getting a heads up and already are getting the information on how they can be effective leaders of Pleasant Hope right now. I'm already sharing it. We're taking record of those who are showing up to class because this is the pool of people who will be helping to lead Pleasant Hope going forward. We're going to move away from a whosoever will model with our ministry leaders. We're not just going after people who just got a heart. You also got to have a head for this. But where we're going, you got to have the heart and the head so your hands know what to do. And so please don't think it a small thing when I'm promoting my classes. I'm taking time out to teach, to preach, to study, to share resources, and I'm paying attention to who's showing up to class. I'm paying attention to those who stay close to where it is that I'm going. Stay close to me right now, because those will be the people who will be leading us as a church going forward. No shade to nobody who don't come. I'm not hating on nobody who don't come. It's just that I take very seriously our holistic salvation and liberation as a people. And those who are not disciplined in studying and renewing their minds in community with my leadership will not be in a position to guide the church forward in this new season. They'll be in a position to help perhaps, but not to lead. Leadership has a higher standard. And so I urge you and I encourage you, pay attention to what I'm saying. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Read the articles I'm sending out. Read the Sunday bulletin where I'm putting in excerpts from various texts and books. Read the blog on pleasanthope.org. I'm being strategic in everything I'm doing in setting up and programming our church for liberation and salvation. We're going to have songs that line up with that. We're going to have children's church lessons that line up. The sermons, of course, will line up. The ministry meetings will line up. And so this is my heads up to you. I'm really excited about where we're going. Not only am I excited about it, I know that our people need it. When you watch the news every day and you see the challenges in our local communities, a haphazard, ambivalent, unorganized approach is not going to change the conditions of our people. We need to be intentional, strategic. We need to hold each other accountable. We need to set clear standards. And we need to be committed and disciplined to the renewing of our mind, as scripture says. So I encourage you, brothers and sisters, I beseech you, in fact, by the mercies of God, that you present yourself holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Check out the link that I'm going to provide for this chapter from Black Christian Nationalism, New Directions for the Black Church. I'm going to share with you a link for the chapter that I've read from this video. Check out that chapter. Get the book if you can. If you can find it somewhere. Track it down. It's a hard to find book, but I believe you can do it. Get the book in your hand. It's going to help you understand where we're going, and it's going to help you to be an effective leader at Pleasant Hope Baptist Church today. You can't go to no other ministry and no other church to get the kind of training that you'll need to be an effective leader in this season of our church and under this pastor. We have a very unique ministry. And so a general training or general kind of learning from any other place is only going to be nominally effective in helping you be a leader right now in a Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. I'm excited about where we're going. I'm thankful for each of you, and I'm grateful for the growth that we're about to experience together. God bless you. Thank you. See you in the library. We got to renew our minds, change our hearts, so our hands know what to do. God bless.